Why would I find a goodbye note on my fridge and an empty safe on the same morning? My daughter told me not to call, said she wanted privacy, and flew to Los Angeles with her boyfriend. They thought I would panic when I saw that 10 years of savings were gone. I didn't. Before we go any further, take a second to subscribe, hit the hype button, and like the video. It really helps the channel grow. And tell us in the comments, what would you do in this situation? The magnet holding the note slipped. I heard it hit the floor while I was still in the hallway, hanging my jacket on the hook by the door. It was 8 in the morning. I'd just come back from the clinic, routine checkup, nothing serious. The sound was small, but it cut through the silence like a warning bell. I walked into the kitchen and picked it up. The paper was folded once, clean edges, Mara's handwriting. She had always written in that same careful way, every letter deliberate, like she was signing a contract instead of leaving a message for her father. Dad, I need space. Don't call me for a while. I'm starting fresh in LA with Lucas. This is what's best for me right now. That was it. No explanation, no apology, no acknowledgement of what she was about to take from me. Just a demand wrapped in distance, delivered with the kind of casual certainty that only comes from thinking you're smarter than the person you're lying to. I set the note on the counter and walked to my bedroom. The closet door was already open. I don't remember leaving it that way. The safe sat on the shelf where it always did, small and gray, bolted to the frame. I knelt down and turned the dial. The lock clicked. The door swung open. Empty. Not a single envelope. Not one bill. 10 years of overtime checks, holiday bonuses, Saturday shifts, all of it gone. I'd saved $43,000. Every cent was supposed to go toward Mara's future. College, a car, whatever she needed when the time came. I sat there on the floor for a moment, staring into the hollow metal box. My knees ached from kneeling, but I didn't move. The carpet smelled faintly of detergent. The morning light came through the window in a thin strip, illuminating dust particles that hung in the air like tiny suspended questions. I thought about calling her. I thought about texting Lucas. I thought about a lot of things. Then I stood up, closed the safe, and went back to the kitchen. I washed the coffee mug I'd left in the sink that morning. I wiped down the counter. I folded the note in half again and placed it in the drawer next to the fridge, right between the takeout menus and the spare batteries. Then I grabbed my lunch bag from the counter and left for work. The bus came on time. I sat in the back, near the window, and watched the city roll past. Nobody spoke to me. Nobody asked if I was okay. That suited me fine. The streets were gray and wet from overnight rain. People walked with their heads down, umbrellas clutched tight, all of them moving through their own private storms. By 9:30, I was clocking in at the plant. The CNC machines were already humming. The smell of oil and metal filled the air, thick and familiar. I put on my gloves, checked the schedule, and started my shift. Nothing had changed. Everything had changed. But I didn't say a word. I started saving the year Mara turned 12. She was in 6th grade, braces on her teeth, always asking for new shoes or concert tickets or trips with her friends. I said yes to most of it. I worked extra hours to cover the rest. Every 2 weeks, after my paycheck cleared, I'd pull out $200 in cash and lock it in the safe. Sometimes more if I picked up a Saturday shift. Overtime during the holidays. Double time on New Year's Eve. I didn't go out much. Didn't spend money on anything I didn't need. My co-workers would invite me to bars after work, to ball games on weekends, to barbecues in their backyards. I'd thank them and decline. I had other priorities. It all went into the safe. Mara knew about it. I told her when she was 15. We were sitting at the kitchen table, going over her report card. She'd done well, mostly A's, 1 B in chemistry. I remember feeling proud. I remember thinking she was finally understanding the value of hard work, of dedication, of pushing through even when things got difficult. "This is for you," I said, tapping the edge of the table. "Everything I save. When you're ready for college or a car or whatever you need, it's there." She looked at me, like I'd just told her the sky was blue. "Okay," she said. Then she got up and went to her room. I thought she understood. I thought she cared. I thought a lot of things back then. Lucas showed up 2 years later. He was 23, working part-time at a car wash, always talking about his next big idea. He had that kind of confidence that comes from never having to follow through on anything. Always a new plan. Always a new angle. Always a reason why the last thing didn't work out. Mara was 19 and still living at home. She'd tried community college for a semester but dropped out. Said it wasn't for her. Said she needed to figure out what she really wanted to do with her life. I didn't push. I figured she'd find her way eventually. Some people just need more time. Lucas stayed over most nights. I never said anything. He'd eat my food, use my Wi-Fi, leave his shoes in the hallway. His jacket would be draped over the back of my chair. His empty soda cans would pile up on the coffee table. Mara said he was going through a rough patch. I said that was fine. I even gave him $40 once when his car wouldn't start. He never paid me back. One night, maybe 6 months ago, I came home late from a double shift. My back ached. My hands smelled like machine grease. I was looking forward to a hot shower and maybe an hour of television before bed. They were in the living room watching TV. Mara was on her phone. Lucas was stretched out on the couch like he owned the place. "Hey, Noah," he said without looking up. Not Mr. Halden, just Noah, like we were buddies, like he'd earned that right somehow. I nodded and went to the kitchen. I could hear them talking in low voices. Then Mara laughed, sharp, quick, like she was making fun of something. "He's so predictable," she said. "Like a robot." Lucas laughed too. "Yeah, man. No offense, but your dad's got no personality. Just work, sleep, work, sleep. I don't think I've ever seen him smile." I stood there by the fridge, holding a glass of water. The ice cubes clinked softly against the sides. I didn't say anything. I just went to my room and closed the door. The next morning, I made breakfast like I always did. Eggs, toast, coffee. Mara came out in her pajamas, grabbed a plate, and sat down without a word. Lucas stumbled out 10 minutes later, yawning, scratching his stomach. I didn't bring it up. I never brought anything up. At work, one of the guys, Pete, a welder with 20 years on the floor, sat down next to me during lunch. He had grease under his fingernails and a permanent squint from years of staring at bright sparks. "You're too nice for your own good, Noah," he said, grinning. "You let people walk all over you." I shrugged. "Maybe. Nah, seriously. You gotta stand up for yourself sometimes. People take advantage of guys like you." I nodded and finished my sandwich. Pete meant well, but he didn't understand. I wasn't being nice. I was being patient. The garage has always been my place. Not the living room, not the kitchen. The garage. I keep everything organized there. Tools on pegboards, boxes labeled, files in drawers. Nothing out of place, nothing forgotten. There's a workbench along the back wall where I've spent countless hours repairing things, building things, thinking things through. 2 days after I found the note, I sat down at the workbench and pulled out a notebook. I didn't need to check the bank statements yet. I already knew what I'd find, but I needed to write things down. Dates, times, patterns. I needed to see it all laid out in front of me, clear and undeniable. Mara had access to the safe combination. I'd given it to her 3 years ago when she turned 19. "In case of emergencies," I'd said. She nodded and wrote it down in her phone. Took her maybe 5 seconds. She didn't ask what constituted an emergency, didn't ask if there were limits, just saved the numbers and went back to scrolling through whatever app had her attention that day. I never changed it. I thought about the last few weeks, the way she'd been quieter than usual, the way Lucas had started talking about Los Angeles like it was some promised land where everyone got rich and famous just for showing up, the way they'd both stopped asking me how work was going, stopped asking about anything, really. I circled a date on the calendar hanging above the bench. October 14th. That was the day Lucas posted a picture on social media. Him and Mara standing in front of a car dealership, big smiles, arms around each other. The caption said, "New chapter starting soon." 47 people liked it. 12 people left comments, all of them excited, all of them supportive, none of them wondering where two young people with no steady income were getting money for a new chapter. I stared at that date for a long time. Then I picked up my phone and made a call. It wasn't to Mara. It wasn't to Lucas. It was to the credit union where I'd opened my account 15 years ago. I'd been banking there since before Mara was born. They knew me. They knew my patterns. They knew I didn't make calls like this unless something was wrong. "Hi, this is Noah Halden," I said when someone picked up. "I have a question about my savings account." The woman on the other end was polite, professional. She asked for my account number and verified my identity. Asked me my mother's maiden name. Asked me the last 4 digits of my social security number. Standard procedure. "What can I help you with today, Mr. Halden?" "I'd like to know if there's a way to see recent withdrawal activity," I said. "Just for my own records." "Of course, I can pull that up for you. Give me one moment." I waited. The line went quiet, except for the soft clicking of a keyboard. I could hear someone talking in the background, another customer asking about loan rates. "Okay," she said. "I see several large withdrawals over the past 3 weeks. The most recent one was 2 days ago. Would you like me to email you a detailed statement?" "That would be helpful. Thank you." "No problem. Is there anything else I can assist you with?" "Not right now." I hung up and set the phone down on the bench. My hands were steady. My breathing was calm. I felt nothing except clarity. The kind of clarity that comes when all the confusion finally falls away and you're left staring at the simple, undeniable truth. I didn't call Mara. I didn't text Lucas. I didn't post anything online or reach out to anyone in the family. I just sat there in the garage, looking at the circled date on the calendar, and decided not to ask why anymore. Because I already knew. The credit union was a 10-minute walk from the bus stop. I went there on my lunch break, still in my work clothes, smelling like machine oil and metal shavings. The lobby was quiet, just a couple of people waiting in line and a teller counting bills behind the counter. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead, casting everything in that flat, institutional glow that makes every bank look the same. I walked up to the desk near the back where a sign said, "Customer Service." A woman in her early 50s looked up from her computer and smiled. It was the kind of smile you give to strangers, polite, professional, practiced. "How can I help you today?" "I'm Noah Halden," I said. "I called a few days ago about my account activity. I'd like to talk to someone about withdrawal patterns." Her smile didn't change, but something in her eyes sharpened. She typed something into her computer. Her fingers moved quickly across the keyboard, nails clicking against the keys. "Let me get someone from compliance," she said. "Have a seat. It'll just be a minute." I sat down in one of the chairs by the window and waited. Outside, people walked past, some in suits, some in jeans, all of them moving like they had somewhere to be. A man in a gray coat stopped to check his phone. A woman with a stroller paused to adjust the blanket covering her baby. Life continuing in all its ordinary, unremarkable ways. 5 minutes later, a woman came out of the back office. She introduced herself as Ruth Calder, compliance manager. She had short gray hair and a no-nonsense expression. She wore a navy blazer and small silver earrings. She shook my hand and gestured toward a small conference room. "Let's talk in here," she said. We sat down across from each other. She opened a folder and pulled out a stack of papers. Each page was covered in numbers, dates, transaction codes. The bureaucratic language of money moving from one place to another. "Mr. Halden, I've reviewed your account," she said. "You've had 3 large withdrawals in the past month. Each one was done in person at a branch in West Hollywood. The amounts were $15,000, $12,000, and $16,000. That's $43,000 total. I nodded. I didn't make those withdrawals. She looked at me carefully. Do you know who did? My daughter. She had access to the account. Ruth made a note on the paper in front of her. Did you give her permission to withdraw those amounts? No. Was she listed as a joint account holder? No. She had the account information for emergencies. I gave her the safe combination 3 years ago. Ruth leaned back in her chair. Mr. Halden, if someone accessed your account without authorization, that's a serious matter. We'll need to document everything. Do you have any proof of the withdrawals? I have the statements you sent me, and I have records showing when the account was accessed. She nodded. Good. That'll help. I'm going to file an internal report and flag the account for review. It'll take a few days to process, but once it's done, we can move forward with recovery options. How long before the account is frozen? I asked. If there's evidence of misuse, we can freeze it within 48 hours. Do it. She looked at me for a long moment, then she nodded. I'll start the process today. I stood up and shook her hand again. Thank you. One more thing, she said as I turned to leave. If you need legal support, there's a legal aid office downtown. They specialize in financial cases. I can give you the address. I'd appreciate that. She wrote it down on a slip of paper and handed it to me. Her handwriting was neat, precise. Every letter perfectly formed. I folded it and put it in my pocket. That night, I got a text from Mara. It was the first time she'd reached out since leaving. Dad, something's wrong with the account. It won't let me access it. Can you fix it? I stared at the message for a full minute, read it 3 times, looked at the timestamp. 9:47 p.m. She was probably sitting in some cheap apartment in Los Angeles, surrounded by half-unpacked boxes, suddenly realizing that the money she'd counted on wasn't available anymore. Then I set the phone down and went to bed. I didn't reply. The legal aid office was on the 3rd floor of an old building downtown. The waiting room smelled like carpet cleaner and bad coffee. The chairs were mismatched. The magazines on the table were 6 months out of date. A television in the corner played the news with the sound turned down. I signed in at the front desk and sat down next to a woman holding a stack of papers and a kid who wouldn't stop kicking the chair in front of him. The woman looked tired. The kind of tired that comes from fighting too many battles with not enough weapons. 20 minutes later, a man in his mid-50s called my name. He introduced himself as Elliot Brann. His handshake was firm. His office was small but organized, files stacked neatly, a calendar on the wall, a single window overlooking the street. There was a photograph on his desk, 2 kids, a dog, a woman with kind eyes. Mr. Halden, he said, sitting down behind his desk. Tell me what's going on. I explained everything, the note, the empty safe, the withdrawals, the phone call to the credit union. I kept my voice steady. I didn't add anything extra, just facts, just the sequence of events as they happened. Elliot listened without interrupting. When I finished, he leaned back in his chair and tapped a pen against the desk. Tap, tap, tap. Rhythmic, thoughtful. This is financial abuse, he said, clear-cut. Your daughter had access for emergencies, not for personal use. The fact that she withdrew everything without your knowledge or consent, that's illegal. It doesn't matter that she's your daughter. It doesn't matter that you gave her the combination. She exceeded the scope of permission. What are my options? I asked. You can file a formal complaint with the authorities. The credit union will back you up with their records. If the withdrawals were made under false pretenses, the account can be frozen and the funds can be recovered. But here's the thing. It takes time, and it's going to involve your daughter directly. Are you prepared for that? Yes. He looked at me carefully. Mr. Halden, I need to be clear about what this means. If you move forward, your daughter could face charges. She could have a criminal record. This will affect her ability to get loans, get jobs, rent apartments. This isn't just about getting your money back. This is about consequences. I understand. And your family? They're not going to be happy about this. I know. Elliot nodded and pulled out a form. I'll help you file the complaint. Once it's submitted, the investigation begins. The credit union will flag the account. Any remaining funds will be locked. And if your daughter tries to access the account again, it'll be documented. How long before something happens? A week, maybe 2. Depends on how fast the paperwork moves. I signed the form. Elliot made a copy and handed me the original. One more thing, he said. Don't contact your daughter. Don't respond to her messages. Let the process play out. If you engage with her now, it could complicate things. I won't. He stood up and shook my hand. Good luck, Mr. Halden. You're doing the right thing. I left the office and walked back to the bus stop. My phone buzzed twice on the way. Both times it was Mara. Both times I ignored it. That night I sat in the garage and organized my records. Withdrawal logs, access timestamps, the note from the fridge. I put everything in a folder and labeled it with the date. Then I placed it in the drawer with all my other important documents. Then I went inside, made dinner, and watched TV until I fell asleep in the chair. The next morning, I went to work like always. Pete asked me if I was okay. I said I was fine. He didn't push. At lunch, my phone buzzed again. This time, it was Lucas. Hey man, Mara's freaking out about the account. What's going on? I read the message twice. Then I turned off my phone and finished my sandwich. 2 days later, Ruth Calder called me. Mr. Halden, the account has been frozen. We've submitted a formal report. You'll be contacted by an investigator within the next week. Thank you. And Mr. Halden, your daughter tried to access the account this morning. It was denied. I hung up and stared at the wall in front of me. Everything was moving now, slowly, quietly, but moving, and I hadn't said a single word to her. The family group chat exploded 3 days later. My sister Angela was the first to message. Noah, what's going on? Mara says you're blocking her from the account. Why would you do that? Then my brother-in-law, this seems extreme. Can't you two just talk it out? Then my cousin, family doesn't treat family like this. Then Angela again, she's crying, Noah. She says she made a mistake. You need to fix this. I didn't respond to any of them. Mara sent me a voice message. I didn't listen to it. Lucas sent me another text. I deleted it without reading. The messages kept coming, one after another. Everyone had an opinion. Everyone had advice. Everyone thought they knew better. At work, I kept my head down. I ran the machines. I checked the measurements. I filed the reports. Pete stopped asking if I was okay. He could tell I didn't want to talk. The other guys gave me space. They'd nod when I walked past. They'd say good morning. But they didn't push for conversation. On Thursday afternoon, Ruth Calder called again. Mr. Halden, we need you to come in for a meeting. Tomorrow at 2. Can you make it? Yes. Good. Bring any documentation you have. This is the final review before we move forward with recovery. I hung up and finished my shift. That night, I pulled out the folder from the garage and went through everything one more time. Dates, withdrawals, access logs, the note, every piece of evidence I'd collected, every timestamp, every transaction. I didn't add anything. I didn't take anything away. It was all there, complete, irrefutable. The next day, I left work early and took the bus to the credit union. The lobby was busier than usual. People in line, tellers moving quickly behind the counter. Ruth met me at the customer service desk and led me to the same conference room as before. This time, there was another man in the room. He introduced himself as a compliance officer from the regional office. He had a briefcase and a serious expression. He wore a dark suit and a blue tie. Everything about him said this was not a casual conversation. Mr. Halden, he said, shaking my hand, let's go over everything. We sat down. Ruth opened her folder. The compliance officer opened his. I placed mine on the table between them. For the next 30 minutes, we went through every detail. The timeline of withdrawals, the access permissions, the dates I'd saved the money, the purpose of the account. They asked questions. I answered them. Every answer straightforward, every answer documented. Did your daughter ever indicate she planned to take this money? The officer asked. No. Did you ever give her explicit permission to withdraw these amounts? No. Did she explain why she needed access to the account? She said it was for emergencies. The officer made a note. Ruth pulled out a printed report and slid it across the table. Mr. Halden, based on the evidence and your statements, we've determined that the withdrawals were made without proper authorization. The account will remain frozen. We're initiating a formal recovery process. Your daughter will be contacted directly by our legal team. I looked at the report. It was 3 pages long. Every transaction, every date, every dollar accounted for. What happens next? I asked. The funds that remain in her possession will be flagged. If she's used the money for purchases, those transactions will be reviewed. If she's transferred it elsewhere, we'll trace it. Recovery can take time, but we have a strong case. Ruth leaned forward. Mr. Halden, this is the part where most people hesitate. Are you sure you want to move forward? I looked at her, then at the compliance officer, then at the folder in front of me. Yes. The officer nodded. Then we're done here. You'll receive updates as the process moves forward. If your daughter contacts you, do not engage. Refer her to our legal department. I stood up. Ruth and the officer stood with me. We shook hands. I picked up my folder and walked out of the conference room. The lobby was still crowded. People talking, phones ringing, life moving forward like nothing had happened. I walked past all of it and stepped outside. My phone buzzed. It was Mara. Dad, please, we need to talk. I turned off my phone and got on the bus. The call came 2 weeks later. I was at home, sitting in the garage, organizing a box of old receipts, tax records from 3 years ago, service invoices for the car, medical bills, the mundane paperwork of an ordinary life. My phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. Mr. Halden? Yes. This is Detective Iris Langford with the Financial Crimes Unit. I'm calling about your case. Do you have a few minutes? I do. Good. I've reviewed the report from the credit union and the legal aid office. I also spoke with your attorney, Mr. Bran. Everything checks out. We're moving forward with formal charges. I set down the box I was holding. What does that mean? It means your daughter and her boyfriend will be contacted for questioning. If they refuse to cooperate, we'll escalate. The funds that were withdrawn are being traced. If they've been spent, we'll document where they went. If they're still accessible, we'll freeze them. We're also looking into whether this constitutes identity fraud, given that she used your account credentials without permission. How long will that take? Depends on their response. But I want you to know, this is a strong case. You did everything right. You documented everything. You followed the process. That matters. Thank you. One more thing, Mr. Halden. If your daughter or her boyfriend contact you, do not respond. Do not meet with them. Do not negotiate. Let us handle it. I understand. She hung up. I sat there in the garage for a long time, staring at the phone in my hand. The screen went dark. The garage was silent except for the faint hum of the refrigerator in the kitchen. 2 days later, Mara called me. I didn't answer. She called again. Then Lucas called. Then Angela called. Then my brother-in-law. Then my cousin. The phone rang and rang and rang. I turned it off and went to work. At lunch, Pete sat down across from me. He didn't say anything at first, just ate his sandwich and watched the machines run, the steady rhythm of metal cutting metal, the hiss of coolant, the mechanical precision of it all. "You doing okay?" he finally asked. "Yeah." "You sure? You've been quiet lately, more than usual." "I'm fine." He nodded. "All right, just checking. You need anything, you let me know. I will. That night, I turned my phone back on. 17 missed calls, 10 text messages, 3 voicemails. I deleted all of them without reading or listening. Every single one. Gone. The next morning, Detective Langford called again. Mr. Halden, your daughter has been notified. She's requesting a meeting with you. I strongly advise against it. I'm not meeting with her. Good. Her attorney is trying to negotiate, but we're not budging. The evidence is clear. She's facing charges for financial misuse and possible identity fraud. Her boyfriend is also under investigation for conspiracy and accessory to theft. What happens if she cooperates? Then we move to recovery. She'll be required to repay what she took. If she doesn't cooperate, we escalate to formal prosecution. That means court. That means a criminal record. That means consequences that follow her for years. How long before a decision is made? A week, maybe less. Thank you, Detective. You're welcome, Mr. Halden. You did the right thing. I hung up and went back to work. The message came on a Tuesday morning. I was at the plant, running a part through the mill, when my phone buzzed in my pocket. I ignored it. At lunch, I checked. It was from Angela. Noah, Mara's in trouble. Real trouble. She's being charged with theft. She says you're the one who reported her. Is that true? I didn't reply. 5 minutes later, another message from my brother-in-law. You need to drop this. She's your daughter. Family doesn't do this to family. You're destroying her life over money. Is that really worth it? I turned off my phone and finished my shift. That night, I sat in the garage and pulled out the folder again. I didn't need to look at it anymore. I knew every date, every transaction, every detail, but I opened it anyway and went through it one more time. $43,000, 10 years of work, gone in 3 weeks. I closed the folder and put it back in the drawer. The next day, Detective Langford called again. Mr. Halden, your daughter has agreed to cooperate. She's admitting to the withdrawals. Her attorney is negotiating terms for repayment. What are the terms? She'll be required to return the full amount over a structured timeline. If she fails to comply, she'll face formal charges. The prosecution is willing to offer a deferred judgment if she makes restitution. Her boyfriend is also being held accountable. He's listed as an accessory. How long will repayment take? That depends on her income and her attorney's proposal. But the funds will be returned. That's guaranteed. She'll be on a payment plan, monthly installments, every payment documented, every payment tracked. Thank you, Detective. You did the right thing, Mr. Halden. I know it wasn't easy. I hung up and stared at the wall. It hadn't been easy, but it had been necessary. That night, Mara sent me a text. I read it this time. Dad, I'm sorry. I made a mistake. I thought you wouldn't notice. I thought you wouldn't care. Please don't do this. I'll pay you back, I promise. Just drop the charges. I stared at the message for a long time. Then I turned off my phone and went to bed. The next morning, I got another call from Ruth Calder. Mr. Halden, the recovery process has been finalized. Your daughter has signed an agreement to repay the full amount. The first installment will be deposited into your account within 30 days. She'll be making monthly payments of $1,500 until the debt is cleared. Thank you. And Mr. Halden? I just want to say, you handled this with more patience than most people would have. That takes strength. I didn't know what to say to that, so I just thanked her again and hung up. At work, Pete asked me if I wanted to grab a drink after the shift. I said no. He nodded and didn't push. That night, I sat in the garage and looked at the calendar on the wall. I crossed off the last 2 weeks with a red marker. Big X's over each day. Evidence of time passing. Evidence of progress. Everything was moving. Slowly, quietly, but moving. And I still hadn't said a single word to her. The first payment came 31 days later. I checked my account on my lunch break. $1,500. The first installment. Right on time. Exactly as the agreement specified. I looked at the transaction details. The timestamp. The source account. Everything documented, everything official. I didn't feel relieved. I didn't feel angry. I just felt done. That night, I got a call from Elliot Brann. "Mr. Halden, the agreement is in motion. Your daughter is making payments as required. If she misses one, the charges will be refiled, but so far she's complying." "Good. How are you holding up?" "I'm fine. If you need anything, let me know." "I will, thank you." I hung up and went back to organizing the garage. There were boxes I hadn't opened in years. Old tools, spare parts, things I'd saved thinking I might need them someday. 2 days later, Angela called. I answered this time. "Noah, what the heck is going on? Mara's broke. She's working 2 jobs just to make these payments. Lucas left her. She's living in some tiny apartment with 3 other people. You're destroying her life." "She destroyed mine first. She's your daughter. And she chose to take everything I worked for." Angela went quiet. Then she sighed. "You're not wrong. But this is extreme. She's 22 years old. She made a mistake. Do you really want her to suffer for the next 3 years paying this back?" "Yes." "Why?" "Because actions have consequences. But she's family. That didn't stop her from taking my money." Angela went quiet again. I could hear her breathing on the other end. Then she said, "Fine, do what you want, but don't expect the rest of us to support this." "I don't." She hung up. I didn't call her back. The next week I got another payment. $1,500 again, right on time. Every transaction exactly as specified in the agreement. No delays, no excuses. At work, Pete asked me if I'd heard from my daughter. I said no. He nodded and didn't ask again. That night, I sat in the garage and opened the folder one last time. I looked at the note from the fridge, the one that said, "I need space. Don't call me." I folded it back up and put it in the drawer. Then I went inside and made dinner. The following month, another payment came. And the month after that, and the month after that. Every single one, right on time. $1,500 deposited into my account on the same day every month, like clockwork. I didn't reach out to Mara. She didn't reach out to me. The family stopped calling. The group chat went quiet. Everyone had moved on to other drama, other problems, other people to judge. And that was fine, because I wasn't doing this for revenge. I wasn't doing this to hurt her. I was doing this because 10 years of work mattered, because respect mattered, because the moment she decided I was weak enough to take from, that was the moment she stopped being right. 6 months later, I got a call from Detective Langford. "Mr. Halden, just checking in. Your daughter is still making payments. No issues so far. The case remains closed as long as she continues compliance. How are you?" "I'm good." "Glad to hear it. You handled this better than most people would have." I thanked her and hung up. That night, I sat in the garage and looked at the calendar. I'd crossed off 6 months of payments, 34 more to go, almost 3 more years. But every month the balance would get smaller. Every month, I'd get closer to having back what was taken. I didn't feel victorious. I didn't feel proud. I just felt calm. And that was enough. Ruth Calder called me on a Wednesday afternoon in late spring. I was at work, running a complex part that required precision measurements. I let it go to voicemail and called her back during my break. "Mr. Halden, we need to schedule a final compliance meeting. Your daughter has completed 18 months of payments. We need you to come in and sign off on the continued agreement." "When?" "Friday at 2, same conference room." "I'll be there." I took the bus downtown on Friday. The city looked different in the spring light. Trees blooming, people walking without jackets, everything brighter somehow. I walked into the credit union at exactly 2 o'clock. Ruth was waiting for me, but she wasn't alone. Sitting in the conference room, pale and thin, was Mara. I stopped in the doorway. Ruth looked at me apologetically. "Mr. Halden, your daughter requested to be here. Her attorney advised it. She wants to speak with you." I looked at Mara. She'd lost weight. Her hair was shorter. She had dark circles under her eyes. She looked older than 22. She looked tired in a way that comes from working too many hours for too little money. "Dad," she said. Her voice cracked. I walked into the room and sat down across from her. Ruth sat at the head of the table with her folder open. "Mr. Halden, we just need you to acknowledge receipt of the payments and confirm the agreement continues," Ruth said. She slid a paper across the table. I read it. 18 months of payments, $27,000 returned, $16,000 still owed, every payment on time, every payment documented. I signed it. Mara watched me sign. Then she leaned forward. "Dad, please. I'm sorry. I know I messed up. I know I hurt you. But I'm trying to make it right. Can't we talk?" I looked at her, really looked at her, and I felt nothing. No anger, no sadness, no regret. "You took 10 years of my life," I said. "You took it because you thought I was weak. You thought I wouldn't do anything about it. I was wrong. Yes, you were. I've been paying you back for 18 months. I've been working 2 jobs. Lucas left me. I lost everything. Isn't that enough?" "No." Her eyes filled with tears. "Why not?" "Because you still don't understand what you did. You're not sorry you took the money. You're sorry you got caught." "That's not true." "Then why did you leave a note telling me not to call? Why did you fly to Los Angeles the same day you emptied the safe? You knew exactly what you were doing." She opened her mouth to respond, but nothing came out. I stood up. "You have 16 months left. After that, we're done." "Dad." "We're done, Mara." I walked out of the conference room. Ruth followed me into the lobby. "Mr. Halden, I'm sorry. I didn't know she was going to ask to speak with you." "It's fine. The agreement stands. She'll continue making payments. You'll have your money back within 16 months. "Thank you." I walked out of the credit union and into the afternoon sun. My phone buzzed. A notification from the bank. Another payment. Right on time. I got on the bus and sat in the back. As the city rolled past, I thought about the look on Mara's face, the desperation, the exhaustion, the realization that I wasn't going to forgive her just because she asked, and I felt satisfied, not happy, not vindicated, just satisfied, like a machine that had run its program perfectly, like a system that had done exactly what it was designed to do. Because she'd thought I was simple. She'd thought I was predictable. She'd thought I was weak, and I'd proven her wrong without raising my voice, without losing my temper, without breaking a single rule. I just followed the process, and the process had worked. The bus stopped near my house. I got off and walked the 2 blocks home. Inside, the kitchen was quiet. The fridge hummed. The note was still in the drawer, folded and forgotten. I didn't take it out. I made dinner. I sat at the table. I ate in silence. And when I was done, I went to the garage and crossed off another day on the calendar. 16 months left. And then I'd have back everything she took, every single dollar.